right, so let's get right into it. This program is all about basically relieving the tension throughout my actual sciatic nerve. So just some band dynamic stuff that I like to do when it does get a little bit flared up. So this video will be a little bit different than most of the videos that I post. I just really thought it was important because I know a lot of people suffer from this. So I started with some lateral band steps. I used the black band, which is one of the more difficult bands. So you might want to start with a lighter band, just to make sure you're getting a good range of motion and being able to work through the tension. So after the lateral, I go into the forward and then the reverse, basically, which is kind of like a lateral step, but I'm going back square. And especially on that way back, it really activates your glute, kind of gets everything firing, keeps a good base. Make sure you keep your core tight as you work through it. Now that we did the basic movement, transition to just the quick steps. So think of these more like, your center, boom, and a nice quick explosive step, which this workout, even if it's not about sciatic nerve or anything like that, definitely a great dynamic warm-up or a warm-up before your lower body training to really activate glutes and make sure your hip flexors and everything are firing. So then we go into just our traditional hip raises on the floor. Still have the band on because you'll see now I'll transition, and we want to get a nice pull on the band that keeps that quad activated, toe pointed up, and then we're going single leg hip raise. And so even in this motion, you can see my hip flexors are still a little bit tight. So the range of motion and the height on those hip raises is not, I would say it's not where it should be. So definitely an area of concern. So making sure you're working those hip flexors. And now we're just going to go more of an external rotation, just basically just kind of opening up, your hips, growing, also getting a little bit of IT band work. Just basically preparing your body for, the actual workout. And then from there we go side, straight leg raise. So you just want to try to keep that hip as square as possible. Really lock your knee. So you want extension there, to be able to really force that tension through the band. And you'll feel this in your glutes as well, your quads. So just really overall, you'll also get some good movement or good stabilization throughout your core on this one. So just another good activation exercise with the band that I typically do before I even get started on the actual workout. All right, and so from there, basically I'm going single leg, just a regular front raise, basically. Great for quad activation. You really feel it fire. I like to make sure my feet are pointed straight up, so with a little slight dorsiflexion, just to be able to really engage. Also work through your shin, calves, as you complete your dynamic warm up here. Of course, we want to alternate legs. Typically for all of these, I try to stay around that 10 rep range, maybe 8 to 10. It doesn't really take a lot, and then after a couple minutes, you'll see, it turns into a workout pretty fast, just by activating. So you're going to get a nice little sweat going, some real good blood flow, and you'll definitely be prepared for the main part of your strength training. So from there, we're going to transition. So we'll see we're basically opening there. So legs are straight, toes are still pointed down, and now we're just going to work that basically abduction, just working away from the body. And really trying to keep your hips square and activate through your glutes into that movement. We're not just muscling it. We want to make sure we're activating the right muscle with each one. So now we're going basically a single leg. So this is a prone position, single leg raise. So, kind of part of the Superman combo that I typically do, which starts with single leg, and then you'll see kind of the progression as we go. And once again, these are perfect for glute activation. So you can see that basically the glute fires first when everything is in alignment and you're getting the right neuromuscular reaction. So this definitely, by the time you get to these, your glute should be firing pretty well, should be full of blood. So that way you kind of get that little lower body pump and your body's prime. So from there we transition to traditional Superman. We're still keeping that band on because we want that tension, which definitely helps with the glute activation. For my people out there that do have the sciatic nerve, basically this is a good way to activate that glute and try to help relieve the tension. Because typically when your body's in protection mode, that muscle that basically kind of where your nerve kind of runs through is typically the one that's causing most of the issue. So by getting that activation and getting that blood flow, definitely helps relieve that tension. So now I'm going band, and I'm going band across the front of my chest using 2 bands. So if you have an area to kind of create that, you could also do this with no resistance at all. So you see it's a reverse lunge into a knee raise, foot dorsiflexed, and actually stabilize at the top. So that way you get full activation, full core. You get a nice hip flexor stretch, which we identified earlier as being a little bit tight. So now we're, kind of opening that hip flexor up with an extension into a flexion, which is perfect to really get everything firing. You notice the bands are pretty thin. This isn't about how much resistance. It's not we're not trying to make it a strength training exercise. We want to keep it dynamic. So that's where the thin bands work best, so you can still have a full range of motion, and you're not working against the band too much. From there, I went into my pogos, basically my quick bounces. These are great for activating that fast twitch fiber and just kind of getting everything dialed in and getting your body more primed for full speed. So I usually go 50 reps on that. Just that little quick bounce, stand on the balls of your feet, strengthen your ankles and ankle mobility and things along those lines. And then I transition out to the turf just for some traditional speed drills. So I always start with high knees, butt kicks with a high knee action, just to kind of get that blood flowing. And now we're working more turnover. And this is great if you're a sprinter or if you're doing an outdoor workout, some hill training, sand training. This is perfect. Even if it's just your leg day, which is what I typically do on just my basic leg day. If I'm going to squat and I'm going to lunge and I'm going to step up, I'll still go through most of this series to get that blood flowing, and you'll be surprised the difference it makes when you get under the squat bar. So transition to some A skips. From there, looks like some karaoke with high knee crossover, really working in the hips and just kind of loosen, getting everything ready, loose and prime, and getting some good blood flow. So just a good part of the dynamic warm-up to really make sure you're primed and ready to go.